into this one right here. Well, I have to explain this about LeBron James. Here we go again. LeBron James, LeBron James, LeBron James, LeBron James, LeBron James. And a lot of people don't understand my post that I made about LeBron James and LeBron James being the greatest, I would say the greatest sports businessman of all time. And I try to explain it, and a lot of people didn't understand it. So a lot of people did. I thought we did a video about this the other day, and I guess I'll explain it again. And before I explain what I'm trying to say, which is real simple, I'm not trying to talk bad about nobody's channel. I'm not trying to talk bad about nobody. I'm not trying to say I'm not guilty of doing the same thing. No way would I say that. My first video about the NBA was about LeBron James, and I think my last video was basically about LeBron James and Kobe Bryant. So I'm not trying to exclude myself out of this whole situation. When I say LeBron James is the greatest businessman in sports history, I mean that. We got to think about, a lot of guys thought I was trying to defend this guy, put him up on a pedestal. Why would I say that? Nobody has yet to come out with all the receipts that I have against the media. We can come out with all the numbers we want. We can come out with the so-called nostalgia about, our era and, like I said, the stats, whatever. All that means something. But what means something now is the media carrying LeBron James the past, 10, 12 years into being who he is and being something that he really isn't, and something that he never was, and something that he never became. Okay, that's the media that's been driving this. I'm the only guy with the receipts that has the only authentic video that puts the whole GOAT argument to shame. And the video is based on the media. The media cannot backpedal of what they said about Kobe Bryant, what they said about LeBron James from 2009 all the way until, I got some older clips too, but basically 2015, 16, LeBron James was basically a failure, never made it to that level of Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and a lot of all-time greats. Okay, we have the receipts on that. I put up that video, 2 days ago? And I put up that video often. So I'm the only one that has the media receipts. Okay, I'm not trying to say I'm the only one that can get them, but I was the only one that was able to put together those media receipts in different clips, which proves that ESPN is lying, Fox Sports is lying, all the NBA media is a bunch of liars. With that being said, now I'm not trying to pump up my own head or nothing like that, because people have did great work, you know what I'm saying? Great work in destroying this whole thing. But what I'm trying to say here is, when I say LeBron James is the greatest sports businessman of all time, you got to give it to him. This guy started Clutch Sports and started paying off the media, right? He started paying off the media to lie, to literally lie. And with that being said, no NBA great players in the past had nothing to say. For the most part, 99.9% of the time, they had no clapback at LeBron James in the Unclutch Sports camp that started his campaign to pay off ESPN workers, to pay off, I don't know if he put him in place, I don't know, but he definitely paid off ESPN workers, paid off guys at Fox Sports, and we'll get into the NBA, what they have to do with this too. Paid off guys that work for Fox Sports, and basically paid off the media to lie in his behalf and trash ex-past players, right? So what does this do? So when this happens, and we have social media, right? So all these channels, all these people have channels, platforms, whatever like that. So they're going to instantly say, no, this is wrong. We're going to clap back. See, the problem with this is that LeBron James has the NBA in the NBA media lying for him, right? So the LeBron fans are, not on the up and up, but they're, in a higher place than, just me or just regular guys that have sports platforms that try to clap back at the nonsense. And because past NBA players are not clapping back. And when I say this, when these guys say, LeBron James, the guys in the media, forget about his minions. They don't know nothing. They're just going along with the narrative in the story. They don't know nothing, right? If they said he was third place, he'd be third place if the media said that. But the media across the board, Sports Illustrated, Bleacher Report, ESPN, Fox, all these people, LeBron James is number 2 at worst, right? You'll get some dummies that say, oh, well, they're both dummies, 1 or 2. But, to have LeBron James at 2, you have to have a couple dummies that say he's at 1, right? So, with that being said, you have nobody, basically, where these past players are clapping back, defending themselves. None. You might hear some come out rarely and say something. You heard Magic Johnson say something. I think that was last year, if I'm not mistaken. A couple of guys will peek their heads out and say something, but nothing on the level in the onslaught that we have been getting for the past 10 years about LeBron James being the 1 or 2 best player of all time. He's this, he's that, blah, blah, blah. Jordan's era was weak. So basically, they're saying, even they said the 80s were weak. We've heard they said the 60s, the 70s, the 90s, whatever. So that's basically saying all these guys, for the most part, that's in the top 10, they're trash. Although we don't know why they're in the top 10, they're trash. But yet, I don't think there's one guy in the top 10 that played in LeBron James' era. Can't really say Tim Duncan. And it's really not about that. It's about, they're trying to say that whole era was trash. And most of those guys in those eras are top 10 players. Okay, so let's try to move on. I start getting on one thing and I just want to keep exploring into another thing. I don't want to do that. I want to keep, explaining to myself what I'm talking about. So again, the past players aren't really clapping back, and we don't know why. Maybe it'll hurt the NBA even worse, and the NBA really needs this boost. You know what I'm saying? To keep them afloat, because we already see the ratings in the 2020s are horrible. Nobody wants to see this trash, and we can see right now that people are talking more about LeBron James than the NBA Finals. This is crazy. Talking more about LeBron James than the NBA Finals. Why is this so important? Why? Because, or I wouldn't say important, why is it so crazy? Because LeBron James' career is over. It's over. It's been over. It's done. As far as the GOAT debate, that's been over like, whoa, maybe a couple decades ago, but we can say a decade ago. He was never in the GOAT debate. What LeBron James was trying to do, basically after, 2011, he was trying to keep himself in the top 10. And by the time he got to 2018, he was literally out of the top 10, right? After that series, and he got swept against the Golden State Warriors, he was basically out of the top 10. He was at 3-6. I don't know how many final blowout losses this guy had, but it seems like 6, right? He never went to a game 7 in all 6 losses. So to me, in the 4 quarters, they weren't even down to the wires. They weren't down to the wire in the 7th game, right? He was just in their stat pattern. So with that being said, let's kind of pull back a little bit. With that being said, this is 2025, and somebody who is of very little importance to the GOAT debate, to the greatest of all time, Tom Brady even said this the other day. He didn't even mention LeBron James' name. Okay, so LeBron James isn't an all-time GOAT. All-time GOATs came through in the clutch. All-time GOATs, they were winners. All-time GOATs, they did things that people never did, right? On a game-to-game basis, on a yearly basis. Those type of things, right? That we never seen before. With LeBron James, there's nothing. What has he did that we haven't seen before, or that was so great on a yearly basis? Nothing. The only thing, longevity. That's it. I call him a longevity loser. He's a longevity loser. So, again, let's reel ourselves back into this. So, LeBron James, you can't eat. You won't get no views for the most part if you do not have LeBron James in your title. I done seen it over and over and over again. Yeah. So LeBron James, what he knows is also how he's making money. And of course he won't have to do this if we were really, well, let's just say, if they made the money that we were told, he wouldn't have to podcast and do these type of things, right? So what LeBron James does to make money, he says a whole bunch of stupid stuff. He gets on podcasts or and he says a whole bunch of dumb stuff. So people will react. And what's funny to me is now he's starting to say the same stuff. He's starting to say the same stuff that he said in the past, right? On these podcasts where he had JJ Redick. Now he's starting to say the same stuff he said with JJ, because there's only so much you can say. It's only so much you can say about your failed career until you have to start saying it over and over again. And that's what he started doing once he got with Steve Nash. He started saying the same thing about what he said with JJ Redick. So this guy is a great businessman, because now not only does he say stupid stuff to make people mad, he pays. Listen up, guys. He pays people to say stupid stuff. What do you think Unclutch Sports is, right? It's not. They're just not finding so-called talent. They're also paying people off to say stupid stuff, right? So they'll get paid. They say stupid stuff. Now, basically, the Jordan fans react, or it could be other basketball fans. They react. Now, not only LeBron James he's still on everybody's mind, but if he said these things himself, now you're gonna go look at his podcast, because somebody's gonna say, "Oh yeah, LeBron James said this on his podcast." Boom, bam, boom, bam, boom. I'm just being real, and it's kind of like Charles over there at Dreamers Pro, right? Every other video is about ESPN. That's how, because he works for ESPN Disney, right? Think about it. If he was so critical of these people, and you can go back and watch these videos or whatever, like he done criticized a lot of these guys, and we all know, real sports fans, that ESPN is trash, and it's basically a rainbow network right now. Why would he promote them every other video? Well, ESPN and Fox, they're a trash network. They are a trash network. So why does he promote them? Well, he's going to get paid from them. He's an employee of Disney, ESPN, Fox, and that's why he promotes them. Nobody's just going to sit there and promote him for free. Look at his channel. There's nothing groundbreaking. There's nothing like over the edge about his channel, his video, what he says, anything. So what would warrant this guy to have 200K subs? I could name some people that should have 200K subs. Like, it ain't nothing over this guy. Too Raw, Angry Old Hoops. Even though I talk ish about Scap should have 200 before this guy. These guys don't even have 100. Keep it 100. These guys don't even have 100. And this dude on Dreamers Pro, they don't even move nobody. He just sits at a desk, don't do no video footage, ain't really edgy. He gets all the stories, breaking stories first, because he works for them, ESPN, Fox, and Disney. And he gets promotions on his channel for what? I'm not trying to say his channel is trash. No way. I'm not trying to say that. Because I used to like his videos. But after a while, you just start to, especially as a content creator, you catch on and you say, how the hell is this guy getting all these views and blah, blah, blah? I mean, all these subs. And this guy is bland. This guy is basically bland. And then when you start to say, well, let me look at every other video, ESPN, Fox, or these guys, these people work for these networks. So he's promoting them. So it's a trade-off, right? They're getting him bot subs, and they're getting him, promotions, and they done got him over 200K. For what? 200K subs for what? Get out here. You can go through a lot of these people's subs that are bots, and you look at their pages. They don't even exist. They're just bots. And you can even get bots on lives. You know that, right? You can get bots sending you money on lives. I ain't saying everybody does it, but you can. I'm not going to get into that. But it had to be for another. Because I told you about a lot of these platforms are just AI deepfakes. Like the KG and the Paul Pierce, the Joe Rogan show, that's an AI deepfake. Who else does it? Stephen A. Smith does an AI deepfake. What's his name? A lot of guys. A lot of people are doing AI deepfake podcasts, and ain't nothing wrong with it. I'm just trying to tell you, it's not real. Of course, LeBron James, AI deepfake podcast. I said that last year. That's what's so crazy about it, man. A lot of these guys had the money to do it. They had the money to do it. Hell, they're even AI deepfaking the LA riots. Am I saying it didn't happen? No, I'm not trying to say it didn't happen, but I'm just saying now people are, making their own little clips of stuff that didn't happen in the LA riots and are deepfaking it. Deepfake AI. It's crazy, man. I mean, you don't even know what to believe no more. You don't even know what to believe. So, yeah, LeBron James has set himself up to basically make all this money off of doing everything wrong. So he pays the media off. He pays other people off in a, social media stratosphere to say stupid stuff. And then you have other channels that react. So basically, the only way you're going to make any money is if you react off of what LeBron James says. And a lot of people aren't willing to stop it because they're making money. But the truth is, he'll never go away. And his legacy won't never be what it is until people stop responding to him. But guess what? Nobody's going to respond to not wanting to make no money. That's just how it is, folks. LeBron James is basically saying the same things now that he said 2 years ago, 3 years ago, trying to rewrite history. And this guy isn't dumb. Him and Kobe were like best friends. I don't think Kobe would hang out with somebody dumb. To me, we did a video on this. I think LeBron James is a big actor. We know he acts flopping, but his whole career since he couldn't win and be up there with the all-time greats, what he would do is pretty much act and get the media to act for him, right? So we all know that time when he came out, just for instance, right? We can do a couple more other things, right? When he came out with the cast on his hand after that game, after the finals, after they lost, that was an act to get attention. He knew what he was doing, but it was just an act. When he says certain things, it's just basketball. It's an act, folks. The guy's not dumb. When we say LeBron James, look at the way he talks. Look at the way he talks on the podcast. I can guarantee you that ain't the way this guy talks in real life. It's an act. It's an act. So you'll talk about LeBron James. Oh man, he talks like this. Look at the way he did. LeBron James ain't dumb. He knows how to talk. He knows how to speak real intelligently. But if he does stuff like this, people will react. If he says dumb stuff, he knows what he's saying. There's people there's people with channels who are making videos that will tell you LeBron James doesn't know what he's saying as far as when he says certain things that doesn't make no sense. They will actually, really? You're trying to tell me this guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about when he's saying these things? Come on, man, give me a break. Of course he does. He just knows how to get a reaction. This is business beyond dribbling a basketball. He already knows he can never be an all-time top 10 player. He knows he ain't top 2. Okay, so why not agitate it? Why not agitate it? That's the GOAT debate right there. I've already told you guys before. What makes this a GOAT debate is that it's not a GOAT debate. But the fact that it's not a GOAT debate and are trying to make it a GOAT debate, right? The media, blah, blah, blah. That's what pisses everybody off. Because LeBron James is only, let's just say that LeBron James didn't have Unclutch Sports, right? Didn't have the media backing him. And he just had his fans to challenge him for a GOAT debate. He will be done. It will be over. Nothing said. We wouldn't even be talking today. We wouldn't have been talking 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago. But it's just the media, folks, because the media is paid off. And, I want to take it to, even a further extent. The media plays a part in this too, right? Because the NBA is so bad right now that the NBA really has no other choice but to let these shenanigans go on in a league. And when I was just talking about a minute ago, LeBron James is being talked about more than the NBA Finals. Let's just say, we go back to last year. And you had Boston in the NBA Finals. And you had, what's the name? You had Boston and you had the Mavs in the NBA Finals. Do you think that they had the least amount of pub like this? They were talking about Boston in the Mavs ad nauseum last year. You really ain't heard nothing on social media about OKC and Indiana. You really ain't heard nothing. And, the NBA really didn't help this. They played on Thursday the first game, and then they played the second game on Sunday. Now they're playing the third game on Wednesday. It's like, what the hell is this? What the hell is this? Even when Denver was in the NBA Finals, the Nuggets were getting more pub because you had a guy like Joker He was already a 3-time MVP. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he won the MVP that year. Was it last year? The year? No, he didn't win the championship. Well, he didn't win the MVP the year he went to the championship. What was that? Joel Embiid, I think he got it, if I'm not mistaken. Well, I might be wrong. No, hold on. He didn't get it this year. So he had to have it last year, right? Yeah, he had to have it last year. So anyways, they're not getting any good pub on this NBA Finals. And it's just sad, man. How can you promote your league and make it any better when you still got, and it's just not the NBA media that's not talking about the NBA Finals. Even YouTube platforms ain't even talking about the NBA Finals. They're not talking about this NBA Finals. Think about it. This guy has made $1 billion off of losing. I've said this in the past. $1 billion off of losing. I don't know what to say with the rest of these sports players. A lot of these all-time greats never even came close to $1 billion, and they were great players, basketball players, football players, stuff like that. They never even came close to $1 billion. Yet this guy has made $1 billion off of losing. This is crazy. I never even heard nothing like this. To me, if he made $1 billion, it's been off of him paying off people in the promotion of it himself, because nobody buys his merch, nobody buys his shoes. So how did he make $1 billion? Yes, he done made all kind of money in the NBA. That's not $1 billion, folks. You got to remember, they got to pay taxes too. And I know they can finagle taxes too. I know that, but he didn't make no $1 billion in the NBA. Now they're gonna give you, oh well, he made it off of this investment, that. Okay, nobody can tell me anything. A lot of people, that they just can be told stuff for the entertainment value. Oh, they're celebrities. I believe anything. This newspaper, this article, and when you read the article, it just says sources say. Sources tell them. Sources, they can't confirm that this guy's worth $1 billion, because I done looked it up. They say he done invested in this, made money, invested in that, made money. And his sources say he done make this and this investment in. That's all they can say. They got it from a source. They can't confirm none of it, folks. But just him alone, making the money he done made in this league off of losing is incredible. Is incredible. A guy, for me, he doesn't have any high level skills, right? He's not a top 5 scorer as far as having certain skills at shooting the ball. He can't shoot free throws. He can't shoot the mid range. He can't shoot threes. So he does dunks and layups. So I wouldn't call him a high level scorer. Yes, consistent, but he's not a high level versatile scorer, right? When we talk about a rebounder, you forget about it. He's not nowhere near a high level rebounder. He's not even a good rebounder, in my opinion, for his size and height. When we talk about assist, yeah, he's good. Good assist. He's not great or upper echelon, right? Upper echelon is maybe, I would say 10 or more. I would have to say more than 10. To me, great would have to be somewhere around 9, at least 9 or more. So that's where he is on that. You know what I'm saying? He's not one of those upper echelon, high level, skilled players of all time. I just don't like a Larry Bird, like a Magic Johnson, like a Wilt Chamberlain, like a Wilt Chamberlain. Of course, Bill Russell. He's not a great defender, also. So he doesn't really do anything on a high level. Yes, he can be consistent because he's a freak of nature like that. You know what I'm saying? So what they always say, oh, he's a locomotive. That's not what you want to be described as an all-time great skilled basketball player. But against who are you a locomotive against? You just took out defense. There's no more great centers, no more nothing. So I'm just saying, LeBron James to me is one of the greatest sports businessmen of all time. Nobody can really eat without saying his name. Everybody has to say his name to eat. And he's not going to go away until we stop talking about him. He's not. He's not going to go away. He's not going to stop making money. And they're not going to promote nobody new until we stop talking about him. But nobody's going to stop talking about him because everybody wants to make money. That's all I'm trying to say. Never say he was a great player, top 10 or whatever like that. I'm just saying he's a great businessman. To have the money he has, to have, people talking about him every day for being a failure. Great businessman. For being a failure, for being a cheater too. So he's a great businessman for what he has did as far as where he's at. He ain't supposed to be there. So tell me what you think.